What's up, everyone? This is Mark D'Amico. I just want to say thank you for giving us a listen or a watch. And please do not forget to rate, subscribe, or review us. We appreciate you giving us a listen. And here's the next episode of View from the Rafters, behind the scenes with the Boston Celtics, presented by FlexCar. Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker, man, 25 years ago was when you guys first came on the same team. Can you believe it's been that long? And that you're now here sitting on the same couch doing a podcast with this team?
Time flies, man. Damn, right?
25 years.
Look, his memories are already gone. It's too long ago.
I can't believe 25 years. Never thought about it like
98. No, but we were just talking off camera before we started. You weren't up there yet, Paul, but Antoine and I were talking about how that was lockout year. Like you came in.
My draft year was lockout year, yes.
And we were talking about how you guys had to play, it was like 52 games or something. You started in February, playing back-to-back-to-backs.
50 games in 13 weeks. You guys will love
That's
this.
insane.
So that was my first year in the league. In Minnesota, we had a player named Hollywood Robinson. Remember him? Shooting guard? Hollywood Robinson. We signed him to a 10-day contract. He played 8 games in the 10-day contract. He made like $38 a game. I mean, like, literally a 10-day contract. He played 8 games in the 10-day contract in 99.
8 games
True story.
in 10 days.
What was that like, though, like, coming in on the lockout year and then you having him come in on the lockout year? Like, how do you even figure it out?
We didn't.
For real.
That took a couple of years?
Yeah, that year was a learning year.
Yeah.
But that was tough because we came in, there was really no training camp. You had to go right to work. So, you don't get that cushion at 30, maybe 45 days of just getting to know each other and practicing. You had to come in ready to go. And then what made it bad, it was no practice time. That's the biggest problem.
It was practice time. Patino made practice time. I remember that.
Yeah, but it's still 3 games in 3 nights. That was tough, but we didn't get an opportunity to really get to know each other and really figure out each other's game. The games. Obviously, the games are more important than practice at that point.
How did that affect you guys? Like, obviously, Jayson and Jaylen. Like, Jayson comes in after Jaylen. They get a full camp together, try to figure out like how they're going to play off each other. You guys not having that opportunity had to maybe impact long-term how you guys played together, or do you see that? I
mean, you understand, we came in and we a young team.
Yep.
Most of our main guys is young. You got young Twan, he in his, second or third year when I come in. Ron Mercer, myself, we pretty much the core of the team. We had a couple vets in Kenny Anderson and Purvis Ellison, but it was really like Twan was the captain in his third year.
All-star already,
All-star captain in his third year. And we still trying to, like, make a name for ourselves in the league. So, when you're in that kind of threshold of, like, wanting to win and still want to feel like you trying to belong, it's hard to really put together wins because you're trying to make a name for yourself, but at the same time you want to win. So are you willing to sacrifice as a young player? And, that was just part of our growing pains, so it took a few years.
Twan, everybody wants to win, but you don't know how to win. How do you learn? I'm going to get to this sort of story about how you both became champions at the exact same age, which is still 4 or 5 years away from where Jaylen and Jayson are now chronologically, which kind of blows your mind. How do you learn how to win? Everybody wants to win. Everybody says the same thing. Start a training camp every year is, hey, I gained 15 pounds of muscle. I'm in the best shape of my life, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing we hear every year. Everybody wants to win. How do you learn it?
I think it's the team that you put together and the mentality that you have, and just kind of going through my process and learning how to win and eventually winning one. But it's the mindset. I think when you come in the league, obviously you want to establish yourself. When you're a young guy, you want to prove to the world that you can play at this level, and you look for all-star appearances. You look for a lot of individual accolades more so than the team accolades. You're searching for that big contract, that first one. So all those things are playing a part early on as a young player to me that you think about. And then winning becomes really, really important to you. So I think that's the process that you go through, and you see that a lot with a lot of young guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it takes time to one to become a all-star in his league, and then one to be an all-star in his league, and then win at a high level. So it's kind of the process to it. And I think when you look at with Jayson and Jaylen, they're in that process. They've had a lot of success early on as far as making deep runs in the playoffs. Now it's like it should be just championship. What do I got to sacrifice? What do I need to do what's going to have to take place in this locker room. How can I lead better to get over this hump? That's the mindset I think they should be in right now because they've had so much success early on, and they've had the individual accolades too to go along with it. So you look at your resume as an individual, as a player, you're like, man, what's missing? And it's that having that ring.
I mean, you summed it up right, Twan, because young teams can't win. Like, for the same reasons you said, you're still trying to prove yourself. You're still trying to you focus on getting a big contract long term, establishing yourself. So winning is kind of like you say it, but you got these other things in the back of your mind, to be honest, because you want to prove that you belong and you're trying to set yourself up for the long run. I mean, that's just all honesty. Guys is looking at, I mean, what young franchise player that wasn't in his second contract won a championship, like in the modern era? It's hard to do unless you just got
Kawhi, maybe.
Yeah, but he was already in a championship team. He came into a championship situation.
Yeah.
So they brought him along. But like, if you're the guy, so like in saying that, the Celtics are set up to win now. Jayson Tatum has won first team All NBA, All-Star MVP, big contract shoe deal. Same with Jaylen Brown, big contracts, all this. So now they like, what's left? And it's about, all right, I've done all these other things. It's time for us to sacrifice and do what we need to do. These accolades are no longer as important as winning, and they put that at the forefront. So they're in position to really get their mind on, hey, it's time to win a championship.
Does the room feel different is the question. The first day in Miami for 05-06, the first day in Boston for 07-08. When you walk in the room with a team that has a chance to win, do you know?
Oh, the room felt amazing. I mean, I was very fortunate to be on team with Shaq and D. Wade and Alonzo Mourning and Gary Payton. I mean, these are guys, besides D. Wade, guys that have had success, that have made long runs in the playoffs, that have NBA championships. So the room is completely different. The mindset, and I can just even remember back, was like championship or nothing. We didn't have anything else on our mind. It was nothing else that you could tell us that we was trying to do or trying to accomplish. And we was all in on whatever it take to do that. And we had a young star and D. Wade that can get you 40 on any given night. And we knew that we had to get behind him. Shaq was still had a little left in the tank where he could play at a high level. So the mindset was completely different. For me personally, I was just thinking about, well, how can I help this team? A lot of people don't know I started the season off the first 20 on the bench. Mm-hmm. I came off the bench. So this is what Pat Riley recruited me, was like, hey, you got to come off the bench and be six man and do something different in your life, and gave me the Bob McAdoo story, and you know what I mean.
Oh, we're getting to winning time. We'll get there.
You know what I'm saying? So he kind of talked me into it, but the goal was to win a championship. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna try this out. And Stan Van Gundy was the head coach at the time, and he ended up firing Stan 20 games into the season. We didn't get off to the start that obviously what Pat wanted, and that went out the window quickly. I went right to the starting lineup. So as they talked me into coming off the bench as a six-man, that's the one thing that always stood out to me. I went right to the starting lineup and basically was told, look, Shaq and D. Wade are the first and second option. You're going to be the third option. We're going to play you with the second unit, and we're going to figure this out. That's the best way we believe we can win a title. And then I think I remember was the commitment that everybody made. You had a lot of Hall of Fame guys. I played with 4 Hall of Fame guys that made tremendous sacrifices to be a part of a championship team.
Here's what you're saying before. If 3 or 4 years earlier, Boston, anywhere else you happen to be, they said, hey, we want you to come off the bench. But it wasn't a championship situation. You hadn't been to the All-Star game, and you hadn't established yourself. That's a different mentality for a younger player.
Oh, without question. Most guys wouldn't probably accept that. But I wasn't seeking a big contract. I was seeking a situation where I wanted to win. I taste winning a little bit. Me and Paul was able to win our last couple years, my last couple years in Boston, at least make some runs in the playoffs. So I had tasted. But an opportunity, going into camp and knowing that you are a team that's favored to win the NBA championship and to have to live up to that expectation, and playing with a guy like Shaq and D. Wade, and I always like to say Alonzo too, in that conversation, and Gary, because those guys had experience and they were seeking championships too as well.
August 1st of 2007, press conference at the Garden. You and I happened to walk in at the exact same time. I saw you. We walked up next to each other, dap it out. And I was like, whole new world now, isn't it? You were like, no doubt. So it wasn't even the first day of training camp. I just, everything to me felt completely different that day.
Yeah. It was definitely in the air. I mean, because my whole career, even though we made some good playoff runs, we was never considered a contender. So when you get a team that's really considered that after, like, this was going into my 10th year, you know what I'm saying, 10 years, 9 years I've been in the league, and it's like, all right, I finally get a team to where they could say we have an opportunity to win a championship. That's a whole nother feeling.
To win the championship.
Yeah, but like I didn't even have an opportunity.
Yeah.
I just even
you
though
just
they
want
said,
a chance.
even they say, you know, before the season started, they were like, these are the contenders. These 5 or 6 teams. I've never been in that conversation. Yeah. To go from nothing to like, all right, we're the favorite was a whole nother feeling in the locker room, a whole nother feeling, just motivation when you go into the practice arena. It's like you can't even explain this. And it was for the first time in my career, it took this long for me to even feel that. So I was like, people don't understand that summer was just like, man, your whole routine changed. It's like your motivation changed, how you approach your shooting, your conditioning, the way you just everything changed. And it was just like, wow, I'm back feeling like a rookie again, like as far as working out and wanting to have an opportunity. And people don't understand that part.
That first day of practice, you could feel it though.
Absolutely. I mean, it felt like a playoff game. I mean, the intensity was in the air. The room was just loud. It was a lot of skeet, you know, tennis shoes skeeting, like people moving. I mean, it was crazy. It was like, man, you felt it. And I never felt that before. And it's an amazing feeling when you're like that team who's looked at by the rest of the league, and they talking about you now. Now I'm coming to practice. After practice, it's more than 3 cameras. It's more than 3 reporters. You know, you got
30, 40,
40 and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, so that and as a competitor, as a player, you want that pressure. I mean, I know I did, and so this is what I play for, and so I like having those type of expectations.
It's interesting.
The funny part, Mark, after the first couple of days, Doc go to the other coaches, go, hey, these guys really get it. And I'm like, that's because last year you had Alan Ray, and now you have Ray Allen.
right.
Like there's a reason. He's like, hey, these guys really seem to get it. Yeah, they do.
It's interesting you say that, Paul, though, because what I heard back in training camp this season, we don't know what this season is going to wind up being for the Celtics, but what I was hearing is that early in camp, it was kind of similar to that. And obviously, Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen didn't come to the Celtics this season, but they did load up. I was hearing that practice was that intense, and you were there for some of that. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah, it's definitely, you can feel it in the air here in when you're in the practice facility, and I think they feel it. I think guys feel like this is their time. They've been through the difference between this team. They've been battle tested. You know, and they've been through the wars. Usually that's kind of like the process at winning the championship. Yeah. You know, me and Twan had an opportunity to where we went to a team and we did it right away. You know, usually the process, you go through your ups and downs, you go through the process of tough losses, tough playoff battles, and you figure it out and get over the hump. That's where this team is at now, and you can feel in the air they're like, the time is now.
Mark, you know what I thought when I found out FlexCar was going to be our new sponsor?
No, what'd you think?
I don't know what I thought.
Neither did I, but then I went and checked it out.
And
it's basically a car subscription, and you choose the mileage package that fits you best, and that's it.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's honestly pretty cool. And it includes roadside assistance 24/7, car insurance, and maintenance. It's all included.
In one bill?
All in one bill. The only thing that is not included is the gas you put in the tank. And on top of that, it's cheaper. It's like 10 to 20% cheaper than buying or leasing a car. And what are you doing right now?
I'm finding my next car.
All right, well, if you're doing that, make sure you use the code RAFTERS, and you'll get 100 free miles when you sign up. So one of the things that I'm most interested about is particularly for you, Paul, because you guys come in a couple years apart. You're kind of growing with each other. You get to the conference finals, and, you know, things are looking okay, and then Antoine gets traded. Just a couple short years later, you're seeing him on a contender, playing with Shaq and D. Wade and Gary Payton and all these guys. What are you thinking when you're like, man, why can't I have that?
No, you know,
like, there had to be something along those lines.
To be honest, I was so happy for Twan to have that opportunity, Because when I was going to some games during that run, I was flying to Miami, like going to some games, ask them. And then when they won it, I flew to Chicago. I didn't even go to my hotel, checked in, and met him at the restaurant and congratulated him.
Awesome.
And we had dinner. I was so happy because I felt like I won too. You know what I'm saying? I was so happy for him. It was just like, damn, man, I'm happy for him. I flew to Chicago. We partied that whole weekend. It was amazing because I felt like, I was a part of that, for some reason because, that's how our relationship was. I'll stay in Miami. He let me use the car. Boom, when I go to some games. And it was an amazing feeling just to see one of us get that because we wanted to do it together.
Do we want to know what the party looked like that weekend?
There was a lot of bottles popped.
Did it feel, Twan, after 2002? Like, all right, we got this. This team is going to win a championship. We're there. Because, again, you don't know what you don't know when you're that age. When you get to Game 6 of the conference finals, did it feel like, all right, we're on track here. We got this?
Oh, without question. And we felt like we was right there. But we knew when you look at who we lost to, New Jersey, how good they was. I just think from top to bottom, roster-wise, they had a little bit more depth than us. We called Jayson Kidd at the prime of his career playing.
But you know what the funny thing about that? We beat them like 3 times during the
Three out of
regular
four.
season. In the regular season. So I promise you, when we played New Jersey, I just knew we was going to the finals.
Yeah, I thought we was too. And we was confident in that. I just think, personnel-wise, from top to bottom, we just wasn't deep enough. I think they had, they probably went 10 deep where, with us, we was probably more 7. And me and Paul had to play out our minds. We couldn't afford to have a bad night.
And they also,
they were spread it out
to your point before, they also had some guys who had gone through that process before, right? Like you guys are just doing it for the first time.
Run.
Yeah.
This is our first playoff run.
Well, you got to think, and then that team obviously went to the finals back-to-back, against the Lakers. So, it didn't like we lost to a team that wasn't the best team in the Eastern Conference. So we felt good about that. We felt like we were right there knocking on the door. We knew the roster needed to change a little bit. We had to get some guys around me and Paul that kind of fit our skill set. And obviously they went in a different direction, which was fine. Now, when you look back at it, the direction ended up turning to obviously the Celtics winning, being a championship contender 3-4 years down the line. So it seemed like the right move, but that's where it was at. We needed to get a little bit more better, a little bit more deeper. The teams that were on top had more depth than us.
But this is my thing. We had 2 All-Stars. Like, it's hard for teams to get 2 All-Stars, perennial All-Stars at the
Especially
time.
then.
Especially then.
Yeah.
So I just thought we should have built on that. I thought we needed a point guard who could knock down shots from long range. And I'll say, like, that's all we always talked about. That's all we need. I remember us talking about maybe we can get a guy like Gilbert Arenas or it was another guard we was looking at or something. If we felt like if we had to build on that, we could have won. Like I said, that was the model that back then. You got 2 All-Stars. You add some good, solid pieces around
You're
that.
in good shape.
You in good shape for a little while to be a contender in the Eastern Conference.
So when it happened, what's going through your minds? Like when the trade, when Antoine got shipped out, like what's going through your guys' minds in that moment?
I thought I was next.
Yeah?
Yeah, I thought I was next. I felt like, new ownership, new general manager, everybody like to put a stamp on, their time with the team and make their own mark and not rely on the last regimen to fill in. So I thought I was next. And so it looked like they was cleaning house. Guys was getting traded left and right. You trade a guy, all-star, a franchise guy, it's like, shoot, I look like I'm out of here too.
Well, I thought we was close. Obviously I was really upset about the trade, and because I felt like after making a deep run, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, me and Paul had figured out we was at a premium of how we knew how to play with each other. We knew how to push each other. We felt like we was right there. Like you said, we could have added another guard maybe at the time. We felt like we could. That was the missing ingredient probably to get us over the hump. But it's Danny's first time being a GM. He comes in. I was upset. We wanted to stay together. He wanted to go in a different direction, and things like that happen. That's why I was so excited when I came back in 2005, because I felt like it was like kind of like unfinished business. The roster had changed a little bit. Paul was still obviously the man on the team, but you had some other pieces around on a team that we didn't have when I was here. So, I thought that team should have stayed together, even though I know we got upsetted in the first round against the Pacers. But I thought a full season with that group, with training camp, with Doc, and what did we win? We won like 13 in a row when I got here.
It was an 8-game win streak, 1 loss, and then another bunch of wins afterwards. Here's what people forget about 05.
And I got hurt.
You got hurt.
Yep.
The loss in 05 was to Indiana. The Pacers were the preseason favorite. They were a lower seed because that was the year of the brawl at the Palace. And they had everybody suspended. That's why they dropped down. Celtics had home
I forgot
court
about that.
in the first.
Yep.
It's funny. That's why we're all here, right? Because we don't. I don't know where my.
That's
my
why
car,
you're here.
No, here's what. Let me explain to you because you're not. When we
Yeah.
get old, I don't know where my car keys are, but I remember the 04, 05. Like that's how it works. That's what senility is. They have the brawl at the Palace, so instead of winning 60 games and being the number 1 seed, they're the number 5 seed. Celtics have
But
this
then
great
they're
year,
whole
this
for
great
the
finish.
playoffs.
The Celtics are the 4 seed, and suddenly you have to play Indiana in the first round, and that series went. That was a precursor to all the younger fans know the Boston-Miami series where the road team wins. I think the road team won 5 of the 7 games in the series.
Well, I got
Right. You get
suspended
kicked out in Indiana.
I got kicked out. I mean, that series was crazy.
Yeah. You know what's so funny that we talk about Antoine trade? It was a lot of people saying that we couldn't win with that style of play because we shot a lot of threes.
Yep.
Remember that?
Oh,
They said we couldn't win. I think
Way
they
ahead of your
said-
time.
This is the
That's what I'm
Godfather.
saying.
Way ahead of your time.
They said we couldn't win with that style of play. Now we're in an era where that's the style
You
of
have
play.
to play that
You
style
have
of play.
to play that
You
style.
got to have 3-point
I
shooting.
mean, we shot 30, 40 threes a game, and they was like, you can't win that way.
Yeah. I
Now look
remember
where
that.
we
Yeah.
are, 20 years later.
You better shoot
What
40
did this man
minimum.
famously say when they said, why did you shoot so many threes?
Because no 4-pointers.
Because they don't have 4s.
But I got to give our style. I give it to Jim O'Brien. A lot of people don't give him a lot of credit for that. And but when Jim O'Brien took over, he basically gave me and Paul the green light. And he told me shoot 10 a game.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
the way they played down. That's the crazy thing about it.
Our best offense was Paul posting up, me passing it into him, and you either gonna double Paul, you don't double him. That's a basket. At double him, I'm gonna shoot the 3. I mean, that was
We
our best
spread
play.
the court, and we just drive and kick. That's what they do today, pick and roll.
These games, Mark, I'm calling like Antoine with his 5th 3 of the game, like he's just hit 5 home runs. Now guys get 5 threes. It's like, it's his 5th 3 of the game, no big deal.
Right.
It was a game, like when Sheed came in here, Sheed had a game early in that season when he made 6 threes, and it was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. And now that's just like average day at the ballpark.
Right.
It's 20 years later, with you're talking about 02 and 03 and 04, and you guys together. Is there an element where it feels like you're watching a rerun, watching the last few years of what Jaylen and Jayson have been through? The difference being social media, talk shows with everybody. Now they've got to read every day. If there had been NBA Today and NBA Twitter and whatever, it would have been like, oh, Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker can't play together. They'll never work out. All through every time you
Too
lost a game.
many threes. Too many
threes, whatever it would be. Does it feel like to some degree you're watching a rerun like I've lived this already?
Well, I do. I think when I watch them and what I do love, and I think the Celtics made this commitment this summer and signing Jaylen to was a big deal. But the commitment that they believe in those 2 guys, I think shows a lot. And they've had early success. I mean, me and Paul had some early success, but these guys come in, they 2nd, 3rd year in the league, and they're making deep playoff runs. And this ownership group believes in them, and this organization, and that's the great thing that I love. And they continually put good pieces around them, not taking them away from their game. What they can be able now as they get a little older and more mature, that they believe that these guys can get them to that next hump and put that next banner up. So that's what I love about this. They're keeping the core together by keeping those guys together, and you continue adding good pieces around them. I love the veteran pieces that they've added around them, and now it's time to take that jump. It's the next step. Now the pressure should be on, if you really think about it, because the organization have done their job. Now as players, you gotta, and Paul know this, it's a mental and physical part to it, both of them. But the mental part is one, you should be thinking nothing but championship. What I gotta do, what sacrifices I gotta make to help get over that hump, and also making sure the mindset with the other guys that come in is championship. Because that's the most important thing, especially with young guys that are seeking contracts and looking for those type of things. The bottom line got to be like, those guys got to be vocal, step up. We about winning championships. And they got to figure out where it's going to need. Do we need to win 55? Do we need to win 60? And Paul, know what I'm talking about. What seed do you think we need to be at?
We got to be better at home, period.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. You got
like, I don't care what the win total is.
Yeah.
Nobody can come in the Garden and
like
win,
that.
period. You know,
that hasn't been there the last couple years, especially during the playoffs.
That should be talked about all year long. You know, like, guys, we don't lose at home, regardless. We need to talk championship every day. Man, I mean, that's the one thing I remember. When we put the team together, all we talked about was, man, where we going to go when we win it, man? We on the bus. Let's go back to Italy. Let's go to Paris or something. But that was the conversation. And so that's in your head every day. And ain't nobody coming in our house and beating us. I think we lost like 3 or 4 games the year we won it at home far during the regular season.
35-6.
Oh, 6 games? Yeah. That's establishing home court. Yeah. So and that's what they have to do this year.
And then also, too, to add to that, and Paul can attest to this because I was around them and saw how they was. They were close. And not necessarily that you got to have dinner with each other every night, but it's a certain bond and a certain way you handle each other during the season. It's a long year, so you want to go to dinner together. You want to hang out together. All that produces winning. To me, we had a slug in Miami. I remember we used to say 15 strong, but we really meant that. I mean, I played a team with these guys. We would go, it'd be 8 guys at dinner. It seemed like a small thing. You like, how does that, equate to winning? But that's how you be able to handle each other as a team. One thing that me and Paul always had is that we hung out so much off the court. He could curse me out. I could curse him out. And I never took it personal. It was never the next day we were back normal, not a problem. And I think that come from the relationship that we built off the court. So if it was one thing I would tell us with these Celtics is, Jayson and Jaylen, have team dinners, get guys together. Football season, have guys come over to your house and watch games. Just start building that camaraderie where you can trust each other and believe in each other, because that's what's going to get them over the hump. Talent-wise, they're there. I mean, you can just look at their roster, and if they get it, that's going to make guys play together, play hard for each other, and get on that common goal of winning it. It's small, but I think those are the things that separate the good teams. If you ever look at LeBron James and some of the history of him, all his teams had handshakes, and everybody used to make fun of him. But LeBron has always made his teammates feel like you are part of this, connected all the time.
That
and
little thing, stuff like that means something.
It means that's the thing about it, because I see they adding so many new pieces. How many guys gonna make Drew feel comfortable now on the team? How long is it gonna take for you guys to feel comfortable with him? Basketball gonna take care of itself. It's the off the court and believing in having that one goal to win the championship. That's where those guys got to grow up at. And not saying that they wasn't doing that before, but that's when you take that next leap. Don't just rely on Al Horford because he's the oldest guy on the team. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's not what you great having the veteran on the team. But now it's time to take that next step where you start talking to each other and you start believing it. That's all you want to talk about. That's all you care about. You schedule watching. Let's go win this one. Let's go win 60 games. Is that the goal? That's what it's going to take. Do we want home court advantage? We want everybody to come through Boston? That's got to be the mentality. Can't be like, I ain't playing because I ain't healthy or I want to sit this game out. No, it may take 60. Competition has got better. The league has gotten better. Eastern Conference has got better. It may take 60 to be a 1 seed. Do you want to be a 1 seed? So those are the conversations they got to have and have open dialogue with Coach. And Paul know that because sometimes, the matchups are important, who we want to go through.
We saw that last year, right?
When we won it, I remember Pat Riley coming down saying, look, we got 10 games left. What you guys want to do? We can finish here. He like, you guys want rest of that? We like, no, we want to be a home court advantage. So we had to play it out.
Yeah.
To get to the third seed, we had to play it out. We won 52 games, but we felt better going from a third spot than maybe coming from the 5th spot and getting some rest at the end of the year. So those are the type of things, like Paul said, it's a mentality you got to think about. You got to have a championship mentality. Like,
yeah.
That's whole time,
that's
everything.
Funny you said that because that's what we did in 2010. We was deciding on what seed we want to go.
See?
And we was deciding
I remember that. It was the opposite, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I don't know if we dropped the seed or went up the seed, but we wanted to see the Cleveland Cavaliers early.
Yep.
I knew that.
And be rested.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, those are conversations that people don't know about.
Yeah, that's one way to phrase it. Here's another way. That 2010 team invented load management. They just did it on the court. They just did it on the court some nights. They're like, yeah, we're not going to go.
For real, dog. You ain't lying. That
it worked.
It worked because we turned it up in the playoffs.
Yep.
We got some guys paid. Andre Bloch, Earl Barron are putting up these huge numbers against the team.
I swear, we coasted during the season.
Yeah, that's as I said, that's load management. That's where it got invented.
On the court.
I remember that playoff series though. I mean, you wanted KG in the post every possession. It was like you knew you weren't losing that series if you were going there.
Yeah,
you're talking about that championship year. What's funny about 06 in Miami and 08 in Boston is that the other team in the Eastern Conference was Detroit in both cases.
Mm-hmm.
Did the regular season games, did they mean a little more that year against Detroit? What I'm getting to is when the Celtics and Milwaukee play during the course of the season, is there a little something more? Is your back up a little more going into those games?
Yeah, I do believe that because you can feel it in the atmosphere when they come. When we first played Detroit, because they the big dogs. You know, they didn't won, and they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to a couple finals already. So we want to see how we measure up. If we a contender, we want to see how we measure up to the guys who are consistently winning. So when that regular season game come, we like, all right, we taking this kind of personal. We want to win this game. And I know that winning that game don't win you a championship, but it do something for the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It do something mentally for you and them, because that's going to put something in their head like, oh, they pretty good, you know, if we have to see them in the playoffs. And so even though it don't mean nothing regular season, it do mean something. It's psychological when you guys see each other in the playoffs. So we took that and said, hey, we got to beat them tonight. This is one of them games. You know, it's going to be certain games on the schedule, and the season's going to know that the atmosphere going to feel a little different. And I don't know how many games it's going to be. It's usually out of 82 games, you're going to say it's about 10 games on there that you're going to be like, all right, this is going to be like a championship playoff type of game. And
it's like Rondo national TV game.
Yeah, right. It's going to be Milwaukee, them games versus Milwaukee, all of them games for sure. Lakers always Lakers, and it's going to be some other ones I don't know yet. So, but it's going to be about 10 of them when you're a contender that you're going to look at and be like, these are going to be them ones that's going to get us in that playoff mode mentality to where it's going to kind of simulate a playoff atmosphere.
We're running low on time. I just want to get one more thing out there. We were kind of making the parallels between what you guys went through of kind of like same position to what Jayson and Jaylen are going through right now. Right now, not everyone, but a lot of people out there, the pundits, are saying, like, you can't win if you have two of your best players at the same position. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that. I believe that if you have two of your best players, they can figure it out no matter what the positions are. From your guys' experience together and what you've seen of these guys, why do you think that two players at the same position can win in the NBA?
Well, I think, and one thing, you got to have respect for each other. I think one thing that, coming in, I had a lot of respect for Paul, and we talked a lot, and we both had the same goal. We both wanted to win. We both wanted to be all-stars, be at the best that we can possibly be individually. So I think that was important. But the common goal is this, I think, the respect factor and respect each other's talent. Like, I knew how good Paul was at scoring. So in the fourth quarter, I need him to get 14, 15. But I'm going to be the one, give it to him. Make sure you get the pass. They W and be right here, ready to shoot the three. And you get to have that respect there. And that's the thing about it. You have to respect each other's talent. Obviously, Jayson and Jaylen both are very talented. But they know. I mean, we both know. We watch them. We know Jayson Tatum's a 30, 40-point scorer. Not saying Jaylen can't have his nights. But you got to respect each other's talent and what you're good at. You know what I mean? Even when it comes to defending certain wing players. Jaylen Brown's probably a better defender. Hey, I'm going to take this guy tonight. This is my job, at least in the fourth quarter. I'm going to take him. That's what I'm going to do. You have to respect each other's talents and feed off that. And then you're going to have those random nights, and P know that. Well, I might get 40 this night, P. It's my night.
Yeah, for sure.
I may say it might be my night that I'm going to get 40.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm going to have my 10, 12 games where I'm going to be the leading scorer, and it's going to be my night. And you have to respect that. I think that's what's going to see if those guys grow. They've had some years together now. They both know each other's skill set. So it should be easy now. They should be able to go on the court and yell at each other and tell each other to pick it up. P cursed me out all the time. I mean, and I could curse him out. I could tell P, man, you ain't doing nothing tonight, man. What you know, get going. And he's not going to take that personal, and he's going to get going. Hopefully those guys have that type of relationship where they trust each other, they believe in each other, they've been together for a while, they've had a lot of success, they both paid, they don't have to fight over that aspect of things. Everything is laid out for them to make a championship runs, not just for this year, for multiple years to come. So I think that's the one thing that's great about those two guys. They're young enough for that, and hopefully they get that this year because we got to give the Celtics organization a lot of credit. They're putting the right pieces around those two guys to be successful. So now it's time for them to lead and now make these runs. They're good of players and they're that talented where they can do that. But it got to come from them too. If they don't, I'm not saying they may have different lifestyles on the court. I don't know that. That's not something I know. But they need to spend time together when they're inside the facility talking about winning games because that's what's going to make them great. That's what great players do, great tandems do. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen ain't best friends. Everybody's seen that play out through the history. Seriously, but they won 6 championships. They had an unbelievable relationship on the court basketball-wise. They did separate things off the court. I mean, it's well documented, it's well seen, been around both of those guys. But when it came to winning games and winning championships, they was on one accord. So that's the same thing you're looking for with Jayson and Jaylen. Just be on one accord when you step on their court. So that's something, and they've been together long enough now where they should be able to have that type of dialogue.
What's your take, Paul?
I mean, hey, he said it great. I mean, it's the same things I'm going to say. You got to respect each other and trust one another. You know, when I played with Twan, that was the issue when I played with Ray and KG. Like he said, it's your night, Ray. It's your night, Rondo. It's your night, P. And we understood that and respected that. And that relationship on the court, even though it's we carried ours off the court, but the relationship on the court has to be there. Jay, you the guy. Everybody respect that. When he say something, everybody gonna listen. JB, y'all been here the longest. Y'all been through the trials and tribulations. Like you said, you got your contract. Y'all have had multiple contracts. What's next now? You know, these are the conversations that's got to be had with each other. What's next, man? What are we trying to do? And I'm happy with the additions. Al has been here, veteran. Drew has been a winner. So that's a huge piece for this team. And hopefully, you know, he can share some of his knowledge because I know what helped me in our run was having James Posey in that locker room. He brought his ring in there, showed it to us, and it's like, well, what y'all really want to do around here? What we going to do? Because this is the goal. And hopefully Drew can do some of that. Like, look, guys, this is what we got to do. And I respected James Posey for that. And so they have all the ingredients is what I'm saying. They got guys who've been a champion, who've been to the mountaintop and got over it. They have guys who've been through the trials and tribulations, who's ready to take the next step. Time is now.
James Posey won another championship. It's a coincidence.
Isn't that wild?
Funny how that.
You each won one, and he was on both of those teams. That's crazy.
Watch this. Here's how it all ties together. Paul, who called you and said, you're getting KG?
Twan did.
Right.
He said something, but he mentioned it to me. He said, I think y'all might be getting KG. I remember he told me
Yeah, funny
that.
story. So I'll tell a story real quick before we end. Gary Payton is renewing his vows in California. Right. So I'm out of California, go to, obviously, Gary's renewing his vows, and KG's there.
Breaking back into jail, Gary.
Yeah. KG pulled me to the side and was like, man, I got an opportunity to get traded to Boston. What you think? And I just was like, you got an opportunity of a lifetime, man. You're going to get to play with Paul. I just told him he never played with nobody that was going to help, because we all knew what KG was in Minnesota. He needed help. And now you got an opportunity to play with another guy. And Sam and Spreewell were great. I don't want to take away from them in 08 and their run. But to be able to play with another guy who's at the level that you at, I told him it's going to be unbelievable. I felt like the fans would embrace him. It's about winning. I had my taste with Doc. Obviously, I only played for Doc for half a season, but I thought Doc would be a great coach for him and put him in great positions, because that's the one thing that stood out with me as a player. Doc was a great offensive mind, knew how to put you in great positions to score the ball. So I just kind of shared those type of stories with KG and just told him that he'll never feel like this. The atmosphere that he's going to play in front of is going to be second to none what he saw in Minnesota. Not to take anything away from Minnesota fans, but you come into basketball country now. You come into a real fan base that appreciates everything, that's going to appreciate his screaming, blocking shots, diving on the floor, everything that KG brings to the game, his energy, they're going to match it. And so that was, I would never forget that. That's how, I don't think I convinced him, but I tried to help him make, decide.
Take the credit. Antoine made
He called me like, I think y'all might be getting KG. I was like, what?
So yeah, that was that situation that happened. And look what turned out: championships, and he in the Raptors. I mean, it was just it was a great move for him in his career, for Kevin.
I mean, that's the winning time we want to see, right? That's the HBO special. I want to see the KG Paul Pierce years. You watch it? Did you watch it?
I did.
I mean, you grew
I
up
liked
there.
it. I'm so upset that they stopped it.
I'm with you.
I liked it.
I know I'm not supposed to say
ended
it.
on a high note, at least.
You know, if you didn't take it too seriously or whatever, and took it for what it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was great.
And I will say this: the series mysteriously ending with the Celtics winning is the most on-brand thing for Red controlling things from beyond the grave I've ever seen.
I didn't know Red ran the league like that.
Well, there were a lot of things about it. You're right. You got a little grain of salt with the whole thing. I thought it was I thought it was great exposure for a time, particularly early on in the league when the league wasn't getting the same attention. And it was great. Everybody loved it. We were all supposed to pretend that they didn't take it seriously and it wasn't exactly a. It was great. We loved it. We all loved it.
Hey, if it's going to be titled winning time, it's got to end with the Celtics winning the title, right? I mean, shit.
We'll figure
That's what it's got to be.
Right.
Listen, man, it's 25 years later after you guys came together. I think it's perfect that the Celtics are going through something really similar right now with two guys, two All-Stars, two All-NBA players at the same position, and now hopefully they break through. Paul, I know that you've really been working to establish relationships with these guys over the last couple of years. Antoine, you're back in the organization now. Hopefully, when they break through, it's going to feel like you guys break through with them.
Absolutely. I told Jaylen I want them to win more than anything in the world. I mean, because I feel like I'm a part of this, and I am a part of this. I don't feel like I am a part of this. This is Celtic. We bleed green. We're a family. We're a culture, and that's why you see guys like me and Antoine always around. We family. That's what this organization is, and they always invite us back with open arms, former players. There's no other organization like this.
You remember the nights you guys were playing and you'd see Satch walk into the building, Honda walk. That's you guys now.
That's us now.
That's you guys walking into the building.
Yep.
But I give credit, like Paul said, honestly, I give credit to the ownership group, Wick, and those guys. They do a terrific job of keeping us involved and allowing us to be a part of the Celtics and what they have going on. Obviously, Paul won his here. I got drafted here. I spent 8 years of my career here, so I feel like a Celtic. So this is all, root for them, that's secondary. But just being a part of the organization behind the scenes and still be able to be welcomed with open arms is something that's very special. Because, I played on 6 different teams, and this is the only team that I have a relationship with at this level. So it's always good. And, I think they got a legitimate shot. It's just not because I'm a true Celtic, but you look at the roster and what they've done and what they built, they got a chance to be good for the next couple of years.
No, I looked at it. They both 26.
Yeah.
They built for I looked at the other contenders, and I look at the Celtics. They're built for a dynasty.
Hey, Wick said when they introduced Drew, Wick said, I'm looking at the next 6 years.
They're built for a dynasty.
We're looking at going to 2029.
HBO better figure out who's going to play Wick.
Maybe Wick can cast that person. I'm sure he's got something in mind. No, man, we appreciate you guys coming by. We'll see you throughout the season, and we'll have you on the podcast throughout the season. So welcome back.
Definitely.
Looking forward to seeing this season unfold.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.